In this video, we're going to talk about how to transfer files from S3 to an EC2 instance. So just a reminder, EC2 instances are where you'll actually do your data analysis and where you'll actually be able to work with files and do the typical command line prompts that you would do on your local computer. And S3 is where you'll store those files after your analyses and where you'll actually keep them and be able to reference them in an EC2 instance. So to start, we want to make an IAM role. So just in services at the top left, type in IAM. And it'll take you to the Identity and Access Management console. So we're going here first because we need to create an access key to allow us to actually reference S3 files in the EC2 instance. So the EC2 server and then the S3 server don't automatically connect. So we have to create this role to say, hey, we want to take a file from S3 and work with it in EC2. So that's what this role is doing. So to start, we're going to go to roles on the left. And you can see I already have some roles here. And you can see we're going to be making the EC2 to S3 full role that I have made already. So go to create role. And then we're doing this using this role within EC2. So click EC2 under common use cases. And here's where you're going to actually add the policy to transfer S3 access. So you can see there's policies for a lot of different things. You can see there's Alexa policies here, administrator access policies, but we're using S3. So in the search, just type in S3. And then where it says Amazon S3 full access, you're going to go ahead and select this. So we want full access because we want read and write permissions because we want to be able to add new files, take files from S3, and just have full access to everything that S3 has to offer. So next we're going to add tags, and similarly to creating an instance and adding tags, it's an optional step, but it just helps for organization and extra description as to what your role is actually doing. So I'm going to bypass this for now just because I think the name is pretty clear for me. So as I said before, this role for me, I call it EC2 to S3 full, just to show that I have full access from EC2 to S3. And you can see I already have one that exists, so I'm not going to create a new role right now. You can also add a description here. And then when you're done, you just click create role. I'm just going to cancel it since I already have one. And then you should see it in this list of roles right here. So you can see mine's right here. And now that we have this role, we're able to start transferring files from S3 to our EC2 instance. So if you haven't already, go ahead and pause this video and launch an EC2 instance. If you need a little refresher on how to do that, you can reference the last video. But in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and go to S3. So just a reminder about what S3 actually is. So it's just a way to visualize where your data is. And so you can see I have all these buckets right here, and buckets are just like a home directory basically of where all your data is saved. So it's a really great organizational tool. So you can see I have some data from collaborators here, some single cell data, and then some general summer computational work that I've been doing. Something that we noticed in our lab, everyone in the lab can see these buckets that you create. So it might be helpful if you end up having a lot of people using AWS to have individual buckets. So we'd have like an Anna bucket, a Steven bucket, a Caitlin bucket. So then within that bucket, you can create folders for this separate work. But for now, since currently I'm one of the only people using it in our lab, I just have separate buckets for myself. So you can also easily create a bucket right here. But for the purposes of this video, we're just going to go into this bucket because there's just some small files that we can easily work with. So like I said, once you're inside of the bucket, you can easily create a folder, move files around, delete them, rename them, anything you want. And it's also really easy to upload directly from your computer. You can just drag and drop files like in Dropbox. And in another video, we can go over how to move files to S3 remotely. So from a service like HDCC or from something like Emory Box to get data from collaborators. There's also very easy commands to help you transfer that data to S3. So we can go over that in another video. But for now, we're going to work with data already in S3 and transferring it to an EC2 instance. So I have this instance already up and loaded. And like I said, if you need help creating an instance, you can reference that last video posted. But for now, we're going to go ahead and run a command to get a file from S3. So I can just run this cufflink script that I have right here. So I can do AWS S3 MV S3 colon / summer comp, that's the name of the bucket, backslash cufflinks.sh. And then we're going to put space period. So period's just showing that I want this to load to my home directory. And then if we hit enter, it should move. So then we can double check that with an ls command. And you can see I also have an accession list file in here. But the cufflinks file moved. So great, that worked. So just to recap what we just did. So whenever you're moving stuff from AWS S3, you always start with AWS S3. And then I use the mv command, or move. So that command works really well for single files, but I can also do AWS S3 sync, and then the same thing, S3 colon / summer comp, the name of the bucket, and that way, and then a period. And this will actually sync the entire bucket. So the sync command works with multiple files, I like to think, and then the mv command is just like one file. This also works if you want to move a folder within a bucket. So say I had a folder titled Anna Work within this summer comp bucket, I could just do backslash Anna Work, period, and then that would bring just that folder, also using the sync command. So that's a really helpful tool too. So let's say I finished my analysis with the files I have in this instance, and I want to transfer them back to S3. I'm totally done with them. So it's a very similar command to what we did up here with the move command. If I just want to transfer the cufflinks.sh file back, I can just run AWS S3 MV. And at the end where we decided where we want it to go, now we cite the initial file. So the initial file always comes first, just like here was the initial file first. So AWS S3 MV and then cufflinks.sh. And then it's the same thing, S3 colon / and then I want it back in the same bucket. So summer-comp. And then that's it. So we can just hit enter. And then it says that it moved, and we can refresh our S3 console. Great, and you can see that it was last modified August 18th, which is today. So we can ensure that it was correctly added back to S3. So that's how you move a single file back to S3, but just like we can use the sync command for multiple files for moving files to an instance from S3, we can do the same thing for moving files back to S3. So if I wanted to move every file in my current directory back to S3, I could just simply run AWS S3 sync, period, to denote every file in the current directory, and then S3 colon / summer comp. And that's it. So that would sync everything in my current working directory back to this bucket. So it's really that as simple as that. Use the mv command to move single files, sync to move multiple files. And you can use similar commands, just always put where the initial location of the file is first. So since the file started in S3, when I was transferring it to the instance, I started with that, and then I wanted to move it to the local instance directory. When I'm moving it back to S3, it's currently in my instance directory, but I want to move it back to S3. So that's kind of the rationale behind that, but that's how to transfer files to and from an EC2 instance in S3. Thanks for watching.